Hey Slayers, it's Jivitz. Dauntless Open Beta is here, and I wanted to share some useful tips and tricks to help you with your hunts. When you first land, you and your party will have to find the behemoth first. Once you do find it, light a flare to signal your team. It will also show as a flag icon on the compass on the top part of your screen. This makes it for an easier way to regroup with your team and get that hunt started. There are many different types of behemoths in the world of Dauntless. As of Open Beta, there's currently 5 different elements, and many more to come, I'm sure. Once you start collecting parts and making armor and weapons from your prizes, there's a few things that you should know about behemoth strengths and weaknesses. Most behemoths have a weakness and a strength to a certain element and sometimes multiple elements, so if you wear a specific armor or weapon type, you will be able to do more damage and take less damage with these behemoths. I made this quick reference guide so you can easily check the strengths and weaknesses of whichever behemoth you're fighting against. You always want to wear armor of the same element and then use a weapon of the element that it is weak to. There's also a link below in the description so you can download this and have a copy of it for yourself. As of Open Beta, there are 5 different types of weapons. You have the sword, the hammer, chain blades, the axe, and the war pike. Each weapon excels at a different damage type. The damage types are part damage, stagger damage, wound damage, and then there's just normal damage. Slashing weapons like the sword, chain blade, and axe are best at cutting off those parts and doing the most amount of part damage. The sword and chain blade are great at sticking to a behemoth and doing continuous damage, while the axe is much more calculated with its huge, slow strikes. Focus those parts as much as possible with these weapons. You'll notice part damage by the yellow numbers while you attack. The hammer does best at staggering and interrupting behemoths. Use your hammer shotgun to boop or interrupt behemoths and focus the head as much as possible. You can tell a behemoth is close to being staggered when it has bubbles above its head. Stagger damage is shown in game by purple bluish text. The warpike is your piercing weapon. You use this to cause wound damage on a behemoth. It will debuff parts so they take more part damage and also has an awesome ranged boop. With wound damage, you want to debuff as many parts as possible. Wound damage will appear as red text and will no longer appear once the part is already wounded. You can also tell a part is wounded when it's leaking aether gas. Normal damage or raw damage is the damage done to the life total of the behemoth. This damage is hidden when you're doing part damage, and it's a good indicator that you're attacking something that's already broken or possibly not even a part at all. When it all comes down to it though, every weapon can do everything. Hammers can still do part damage and swords can still stagger, but you want to stick to what you're the best at. Swords do more damage to tails and hammers do more damage to heads, so try to stick to what your weapon shines at. Some behemoths can give you a debuff or a status effect when you get hit by either the behemoth itself or one of their projectiles. If you've been playing for a while, I'm sure you've already been frozen in place, lit on fire, shocked, etc, etc, etc by these behemoths. While there's a few lesser known tricks to getting rid of these pesky debuffs. Unfortunately, shocked is not one of them, but there are cells in the game that you can put in your gear that will either reduce the duration or make you immune to the debuff. Pretty much any behemoth with fire will give you the burning debuff. To remove this, stop, drop, and roll. You can remove the burning debuff by rolling until the debuff is gone. The wounded status, which is the little broken heart, is inflicted by the Carraback and the Razorwing Carraback, as well as the Frostback Pangar and the Ragetail Gnasher. When you are wounded, you will take increased damage and also take a very large amount of damage when you run out of stamina. You can easily remove this by healing from any source, or you can stand still for 5 seconds. In Heroic, you will get Crippling Wound, which also reduces your stamina by 40%. Make sure to mind your stamina or stand still until the debuff is gone, as it can easily one-shot. If you find yourself frozen in place, ask a friend to give you a quick whack. You can wait out the timer from frozen, but generally in my experience, as soon as you're frozen, that Frostback Pangar is going to come back and smack you with his tail. The same applies to Swarm. If you do have bugs flying around you, You can either swing your own weapon around maybe about 4 or 5 times, or you can have a friend just hit you once. I have a quick reference guide for you on all the status effects that you can also find a link to download in the description. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and enjoy those links with the extra information in the description. Thanks again, until next time.